What's going on, everybody? This is Kenny Dijon from US Lacrosse Magazine. I'm here for another installment of our 5 and 5 series. My guest today, you might not recognize her without the eye black, of course, but this is Kylie Ohlmiller joining us from the driver's seat of her car. Kylie, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Kenny, and super excited about this segment. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy at home, and I promise I'll keep my eyes on the road here.
Yes, that's number one, most important. So Kylie's here today to talk to us about 5 players who face guarded her throughout her career that kind of gave her maybe not the biggest of problems, but were definitely a challenge. So number one, the first name you gave me was Northwestern's Jasmine Docal. So what was it about that experience or that particular instance that was a struggle for you?
Yeah, this one's a funny one now, and I think that a lot of players at my age and older, when you look back on like your college career and things, a lot of the players that gave you a lot of trouble, at least for me now, are now some of my friends. And this is a big kind of thing with me and Jazzy now. She works for Brave Enterprises, and I've been doing a lot of work with her and Krista Samaras, the founder there. And I got to know her there, and it was just a funny scenario that we looked back on it, and she was kind of like, hey, you remember that 2016 Stony Brook versus Northwestern game? That was me that was face guarding you the entire game. And I was like, no way. I remember that game as, before I knew Jazzy, I remember that game as probably the turning point in my career, my college career, because it was such a frustrating game. And because it was, like, she did such an incredible job at shutting me down, not only physically, like what I can do as a player, like when I touch the ball, which, by the way, I'll say I literally did not have the ball in my stick once for 60 minutes. Josephina had a lot of faith in me and did not take me off the field for 60 minutes, but the ball was not in my stick once. Like, not even a ground ball, not off the end line, nothing. Like, I did not do my job trying to get the ball and help my teammates out. We ended up losing that game by 1. And I just remember that, Jazzy had gotten all the praise and, rightfully so. I respected her incredible job at just kind of getting out there and locking me down. She was eye to eye with me the entire game, even when the ball was on the other side of the field for 15 plus minutes, because this was pre-shot clock era. So I just remember that as one of the turning points of my career, because it was one of those moments where it was like, as the player that I am, as the teammate that I am, I know that I should be doing more to be able to help my teammates. And, much respect to the girl who just completely shut me down and did her job. But as the player that I am, I didn't do my job, so I got to do something about that. So now we joke about it, but it's very funny to look back on now that we're friends. But there's pictures of it too, which I guess I'll definitely have to send to you. But, her just staring me down. And I just remember she got in my head, and she definitely got to me that game for sure.
And another player from the early days of your career, or the earlier days of your career back in high school, was Alex Flebeck from Mount Sinai. So what was that maybe a couple of matchups like? Because I'm sure you matched up more than once.
Yeah, absolutely. We matched up at least once a year for 4+ years. Like, I was on varsity for 5 years since 8th grade, and I'm sure she was the same, something similar. And we were on the same Yellow Jackets team. So we played travel ball every summer. We were very close friends. And every time Islip played Mount Sinai, I knew Coach Albert alone was going to put Alex Flebeck on me. And she knew it too. It was always something we joked about, but it was just kind of like the thing that he would do every time. And no matter if they were winning by 15 goals, like, he left her on me the entire game. And she always has been an incredible athlete, an incredible, like, one-on-one defender, sees the field really well. And I did, unlike the Northwestern game, I did end up touching the ball a bunch of times, but every time I touched it, she did her job, and she was on me like glue, and made it really, really hard for me to be able to kind of get past her. So, she's just one that sticks out to me. It goes all the way back to my Islip days, the face guarding, and I think at a young age, it was good for me to go through that every time out at the Mount Sinai game, so that I could kind of learn about it, get ready for it, because I definitely saw it a lot at the college level as well.
And this next one kind of surprised me a little bit, not so much because of the individual player, but I know a lot of those America East showdowns weren't always the closest of outcomes, but you said Hope Kissick really gave you some problems.
Yeah, I think this was just this one particular game that really stood out to me, and I think mostly because of the way she respected her job, and like she knew from her coaching staff that she had one job, and it was to shut me down as a player, and she respected that a ton, and she obeyed it to the very last of the seconds of the game. Didn't matter what the score was to her, and she there was this one semifinal game, Stony Brook versus New Hampshire, that I remember. I believe I had like 6 or 7 assists by the end of the second half. Like there was 10 minutes left in the game, but I was very frustrated because I had not been able to beat her. Like I had not been able to beat her one-on-ones in the cage. I did not have one shot. Like I couldn't get a shot off on cage. So I had found out after the fact that I had finally scored my first goal of the game. She said to me on the line, opponent to opponent, out of mutual respect, she was like, darn, like my only goal today was not to have you score. Like I didn't care about anything else, but my only goal was not to have you score. You had to do that to me. And I'm like, hey, if I knew about that, maybe I wouldn't have tried so hard. But I think, I just had that utmost respect for a player who was given a job by their coaching staff, because they knew, like, if I put my all towards this, like my team has a chance of winning. My team has a chance of doing that. And I think that she did an incredible job at that game. And so it's going to stand out to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the final 2 players you listed might be a little more recognizable household names. So we have Lauren Murray and Katie Hirsch. So what was it about Lauren Murray that gave you problems?
Well, again, another Northwestern alum that is now one of my good friends, post-collegiately. But first year out of college, so I'm fresh into professional lacrosse, playing against the best in the world every single game. And we were playing at Hofstra on Long Island. It was the Pride versus the Fight, and she was marking me up pretty good in the first half, and I scored a couple goals, and then her coach kind of assigned her to face guard me in the second half. And it was a shock to me because, I think one of the best things that I've heard coaches and my dad say to me a lot growing up was the best compliment that you can get as an offensive player is to get that face guard assigned to you. Right? It just means ultimately that you're a threat to the other team. So it's kind of like a compliment from the coach. And that is my way of trying to take away the frustration of it, right? To see it on the other side. And I had to do that in that instance because it was my first time seeing it at the professional level. And I was kind of taken aback. But I think what Murray does so well and what's so special about her is that she, in between whistles and on the line at the draw, and she's just a very friendly competitor, right? She's just making jokes and having fun, loving the fact that she's out there on the field and, kind of chirping you up about the last play and having fun with it. But then the second the whistle blows, it's battle to the death, right? It's end all be all. And I respect that a ton because I think that having that balance is something that's really difficult, but at the same time, it's what makes a great lacrosse player.
And pretty recently, Ella Brockway for us profiled the entire command defense. Katie Hirsch obviously being a big part of that. That unit as a whole is just so deep and so strong. But what was it about Katie that gave you a hard time?
So Katie Hirsch is, again, known as one of, the best athletic, most intimidating defenders. And I think what's really great about this was one of my most recent face guards. It was last summer, 2019. At Hopkins. It was the command versus the fight. A very hot day, very hot game, really exciting game too. And she got the assignment a little bit through the game to mark up on me as well. And again, just the opportunity to play with and against some of the best in the world at what they do, right? And then as an offensive player, a young offensive player too, I look at this incredible defender that I know of and I've heard of, and all of a sudden she's marked up on me like glue. It's intimidating and it takes a little beat on your confidence for a second, but you kind of got to regain it for a second. So I think that was something that was cool for me about being marked up on her, was just being able to ultimately have that mutual respect from either side and be able to compete out there. But she is definitely one of the most athletic, gritty, and she's a very team defensive player as well. She's always communicating, always making the best slides, kind of working with her teammates in between whistles and everything like that. And again, those are things that you notice on the other side of the ball. So just things that I recognize kind of playing against her as one of the tougher matchups that I've seen for sure.
And now to finish up, we're going to talk about 5 songs that you like from one of your favorite playlists. But before we mention the specific ones, give me the playlist vibe here. Like, what is the theme of this?
So it's actually called Feel Goods. Like, so
Okay.
I'm a vibe girl, I guess. So I think there's something to be said. I have playlists for all sorts of different things. Like a workout playlist is completely different than my Feel Goods playlist. But I love all sorts of different music. But this is my Feel Goods playlist. 5 songs, I'm going to go with, I always start off with one of my top favorite songs, Centuries by Fall Out Boy. That was my goal song back at Stony Brook.
Heard it many times.
For 4 years. So I didn't change it for 4 years. And that one just always strikes a chord. And we got, I'm a big Killers fan, so you have Caution by the Killers. It's a great song. And then I guess just a couple other ones that are on there. There's some really good ones that just kind of just drive along to, but Gummy by Loud Luxury, maybe Summertime Love. And what's an oldie but a goodie? Chasing Highs. That's a good one too. You could just blast it in the car on a nice summer day.
All right, guys. So if you want to listen to some of these feel goods, now you know the songs to listen to.
Yep.
And Kylie, that's really it. Thank you so much for joining me, talking about some of the harder opponents you've had to go against in your career, and eyes on the road.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me. Stay safe, everybody.
All right. Talk to you soon.